Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Fry, and welcome again to Pastor's Chat. Pastor Marty and I have had a great time discussing many things over the past weeks, and I've heard from many of you about how much you've enjoyed it. You can't enjoy it more than we're enjoying it. So we're glad to have you with us today. And today we're going to talk about something that I think you're pretty much of an expert on, actually.
We'll see.
You've had a lot of training. And families.
Yeah. I'm very passionate about families. What do we want to talk about? Families.
Well, you know, when I get a lot of calls from young couples throughout the last 40 years that, man, they're totally in love when they got married.
Mm-hmm.
They have that good job. They have a kid or two. Mm-hmm. And then they just start yelling at each other. Yeah. And they don't know where to go. They're in church. There's just too many things that rub them the wrong way about the other one.
Yeah. And it affects every marriage. It's maybe year 3 is when the arguments start. I mean, we all have arguments from time to time, but where you get to thinking that I'm not sure this is the right person I should be with, and you begin to look at the greener grass somewhere else, or you begin to doubt whether or not the relationship is valid. And that's just normal. It's normal for humans to get to the point where we get fed up with one another over something or other. But the thing that we need to remember as Christians, really as human beings, but certainly as Christians, is that when we got married, we ceased to be just two people. We still are two very distinct individuals, but we married those two people together. We became one. The Bible calls it becoming one flesh. And the Apostle Paul talks about it and says it's a mystery he can't even explain, except that he has to equate it to the relationship that Christ has with his church.
Right.
And wow, what an incredible statement that a husband and wife who are unified together are as close and as meaningful as Jesus with his bride, the church. And he wants to keep her radiant and beautiful, and she wants to help and serve. And I'm not talking about gender roles here. I'm just saying that there's this mutual admiration and this mutual consent towards one another. And I think that whenever those issues crop up, we have to go back and remember the covenant vows that we took when we were married. That's why when I marry people, I don't always get them to say yes to this. When I say marry people, I mean perform the wedding. I don't always get them to say yes to this, but it's really helpful if they would memorize their vows. Or at the very least, type them up, put them in a frame, stick them on the wall. Because around year 3 and then around year 5 and maybe year 10, when things get rough, they can go and look at those vows or remember what it is that they said to one another. And it kind of jolts them back into the reality of, I said I would be with you forever. I said I would take care of you when you're in trouble, whatever those vows might have been. And so that's one of the keys that I think we as pastors do when people are coming to us with troubles, is to say, why did you get married in the first place? Well, I loved this person. Okay, don't you still love, or can't you still love? What did you vow to this person? What did you promise with all of your heart? And isn't that a binding agreement? And to help them just embrace again those things that they.
Well, we know opposites attract.
Yeah.
And I've seen people that, the husband doesn't talk, the wife talks all the time.
Yeah.
Or the wife doesn't talk, and the husband talks all the time. You can see it almost when someone's more of extreme one way, extreme the other. One's athletic, the other doesn't want to go to a ball game.
Yeah.
But that balances us out. Mm-hmm. Those differences make us one complete whole person.
Sure.
But there comes a time, and like you said, the 3rd year, the 7-year, or whatever, 7-year itch is what Dad used to call it. And that the infatuation isn't there. It's like
Right.
a new car. It's got a few dings in it now. It's got some, the tires are bad,
Mhm.
and you get thinking about the new car
Yeah.
rather than, no, this is my car. I'm going to keep for life.
Right.
So I need to buy new wheels. I need to buy new tires. I need to take
Yeah.
care of this.
Yeah.
It's easier today
Mhm.
to trade it off
Right.
for another problem
Exactly.
most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, the infatuation is going to wear off no matter what,
No matter what. Yeah.
and it's the same way with a job.
Yeah.
we get that job, we want to climb, and we get right there where there's no challenge left.
Mhm.
So we want to switch,
Right.
or we're discontent, and what we start doing is picking at things.
Right.
And I've seen men come home from work and just pick on their wives. I've
Yeah.
seen wives come home from work and just pick on their husbands.
Yeah.
And I think what you got to decide, no, I think more of this person than I do of what we watch on TV tonight.
Sure.
This person, my wife, my husband, is trying to raise these kids the best they know how. So I'm not going to fight with them about it.
Mhm.
We may discuss it sometime, but we're not going to jump in when somebody's trying to correct the kids.
And create a bigger problem.
Yeah, because it becomes a bigger problem.
Right.
And kids are smart.
Oh yeah.
They'll play one parent against the other.
They will. And what's scarier is that our kids learn how to be moms and dads and husbands and wives from us as parents.
Yes.
So if we want them to have the same kind of marriage we have, we better
Have that kind
have
of
that kind of marriage in front of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said the infatuation wears off. We all need to, that's one of the things we probably ought to tell each other all the time. This infatuation will dull. It will fall off. It will go away. But then that's when we reinvest in finding that infatuation again.
You can still be excited about
Oh,
it.
sure.
I mean, I have a car that's 5 years old.
Yeah.
I bought new wheels for it.
Yeah.
Or my wife did it for Christmas.
Sure.
It's like a new car to me.
Isn't that fun?
I get infatuated with it again.
Sure.
And it's the same way, with a marriage. The problem becomes is, you have that one child that doesn't listen.
Yeah.
And if that one gets away with it, the next one's going to. It's almost like Adam and Eve.
Mhm.
One got away with it, so the next one.
Sure.
But they don't get away with it.
Yeah.
And, my dad used to tell me nothing good happens after midnight. So you don't need to be out there.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, and in our marriages, we can languish. We can say, "Woe is me. I used to have this kind of marriage, now I don't." Or we can invest every day in finding new and exciting things about our partner. And part of that is going to require finding something daily to say to each other that's a compliment. Honey, you did this and I really appreciate it. Or, this is one thing I really love about you. And just exchange one daily compliment. Date each other. So many married couples get into the parenting of children and forget that they are in love with each other.
Yep.
And they used to love to hold hands, and they used to love to go to movies. And of course, COVID, we can't go to movies, but we can sure sit on the couch and watch a movie and hold hands and share popcorn, and whisper sweet nothings in each other's ear, and be silly and crazy and maybe stupid.
Be married.
But that beats sitting on opposite ends of the couch, or that easy chair and this easy chair, and maybe even one person watching one program and another person in the other room watching another. That's not marriage. That's like living as roommates.
I tell almost every couple that I marry, jealousy is satanic.
Mm.
You're marrying this person because you want to be with them only.
Yeah.
And you're marrying this person. So trust one another.
Absolutely.
It's harder to get away from somebody that trusts you than somebody that doesn't.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because the sin of jealousy will bring that into a marriage and
Yeah.
tear things up.
It sure will.
It's the same way if you allow it between your kids.
Yeah.
My dad did something that I did, and I think my brothers and sisters did. Dad didn't buy us all a gift on our birthday.
Hmm.
He'd buy me a gift on my birthday, but he wouldn't buy Carol, Eddie, and Jim a gift.
Mhm.
Because he wanted to teach us not to be jealous. It wasn't their birthday.
Right.
You know, he didn't make sure that he spent the same amount on us at Christmas. He bought us what we needed for Christmas. And, you know, we as brothers and sisters, me and Jim and Carol and Eddie, we always helped each other because there wasn't a jealousy between us. That was, let's help each other. Let's build one another up.
Right.
Rather than you got it and I didn't, you got it and I didn't.
Yeah.
And that starts with the parents.
It sure does.
You know, you got the tires, what am I going to get there?
Yeah,
You're going to say,
yeah.
you know, but she doesn't say that.
No.
You know,
And that does happen in parenting, sometimes accidentally, sometimes on purpose, where we do say, well, I like you best, or I gave you a nicer gift because you've been good, but they haven't. That's just the wrong way to do gift giving. It's the wrong way to validate people. And what you learned in your family, and I think I learned the same thing in mine, is that the value is in the love of the gift, the person giving the gift, loving
absolutely.
the receiver. It's not in how much it cost or how many presents you got, but the fact that I love you enough to meet this need.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
we would never think of unwrapping a gift and throwing it aside like we didn't like it.
Oh yeah,
We wouldn't get another one,
right.
you know, and I think in teaching your kids to give to one another
Mhm.
is teaching them to help your neighbor.
Yeah.
But it has to start with the parents.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
speaking, go ahead.
well, finances get tight.
Yeah.
And the guy finds a shotgun for half price and he buys a shotgun for half price.
Mhm.
I would think that most guys would love their wives enough they're not going to let them go without eating or without clothes in order to buy that shotgun.
Yeah.
If they do, he needs to get saved.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
You know,
You got to
he
take
needs to
care
get
of
on
your
his-
family.
He needs to get on his knees. There are a lot of women out there saying right now,
Yeah.
yeah, they do. They
Yeah,
need to get.
exactly.
But part of that is our reaction.
Uh-huh.
You know, if we take a negative stand on that,
Mhm.
that's only going to build up a negative reaction.
Mhm.
And I always said, we can discipline our actions and act like a Christian,
Mhm.
but you can't discipline your reactions. Only a Christian reacts as a Christian.
Okay, sure.
And that's where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to be very careful that we're paying attention to our reaction. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because our kids pick up on it, our spouse picks up on it.
Yeah.
And it goes deeper and deeper all the time.
Right.
But
Well, here in this, we're just after Christmas, and so gift giving is still kind of in our minds. For matter of fact, there may be some families that haven't even exchanged gifts yet. I know that my extended family back in Kansas, we'd wait till January 6th to exchange. That was all the aunts and uncles. But one of the things that we can do with our kids is we can teach them, instead of saying, okay, go get all the gifts you have under the tree and then just start tearing into them. Let's bring them all to the chair we're sitting in and let's take turns around the circle opening up gifts. Even though mom and dad may not have as many gifts as the kids. But take turns and pay attention, read whose name is on the label, who it's from, say thank you. And by kind of training them to open gifts carefully, we teach them to appreciate what someone has done for them.
absolutely.
And that translates into everything throughout the year. To say thank you for that sandwich. To say, Mama, would you please help me make a sandwich, instead of just saying, make a sandwich or where's my lunch. We teach children to have gratitude. And again, that starts with us as
And
parents.
patience.
Yeah.
My goodness, you let the kids just tear into things. They're going to tear into everything.
Yeah.
But how do you discipline? I was raised, Dad had one way of disciplining. And I found out, as I was raising my kids, there was more than one way.
Sure. Well, Proverbs 22:6 says, raise up a child in the way he should go. And when he's old, he won't depart from it. That in the way he should go means both according to the way he should behave, or she, but it also means according to their natural tendencies, according to their natural bent. So I have a little sister who, if you spanked her, she was more defiant. And so we have to think in terms of what is the type of discipline that will work for that person, and what is the type of discipline that will work for another. So our disciplining children has to be based on who they are. Sometimes just I'm very disappointed in you type of statement will shift them into a mood that says, I want to fix the brokenness, and they'll correct things. Sometimes we have to be a little bit more forceful. We might have to start with, sit in the corner, the number of minutes as you are years old. So if you're a 5-year-old, you can sit in the corner for 5 minutes. But we have to pay attention to who our kids are, because the disciplining of our children is based on what's going to be effective for them. And we know that by the time they're 3 years old, we've got them figured out. Or should.
The Bible says, spare the rod and spoil the child.
Yep.
And we like to quote that.
Yeah.
But I also notice kids that the only form of discipline they have is a rod.
Yeah.
And when they come into church, it's very difficult to get them to do anything. Because we don't carry a rod here.
No.
But if you want to see what timeouts will do, come look at our daycare.
Mm-hmm.
It works.
Sure it does.
And, we don't hit those kids.
No.
We set them in a chair, and they learn they're not allowed to do that. But there has to be a correction. That's teaching.
Yeah.
If I'm writing and I spell a word wrong, and Jackie's editing and she changes it,
mm-hmm.
If she changes it and doesn't tell me, I don't know that I made an error.
Right.
So it's, but that has to be done tactfully.
Sure.
I used to have a lady that in the church that would, with a red ink pen, correct the bulletin and slide it under the office door.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, that's just a little too much.
It might be.
One
of the things we used to say.
There's a tactful way to handle things.
Yeah. When I was a teacher, and then when I was a professor at seminary, we would tell the students that red ink means love. Anytime we'd circle something or fix something, we're doing it because we love you. We're trying to help you communicate. But you're right. You have to be tactful, and there's a right time and a right way. And
we do everything with love. I mean, Jesus had a way of telling people. Sometimes he had to get kind of tough with them.
Sure.
And told them point blank. That's one of the great things about being 70 years old. I can retire tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to weigh what I say. I can just say it, and the people can agree or not. Plus, I think I know more than I did when I was 35.
Well, you better.
I've been through the mill a few times. And I don't want anyone to have to go through that.
Yeah.
But, families and are just a major thing at the Heritage Church.
Yeah.
And we want to raise good kids.
Sure.
But we can't do that just with a good church. We need good parents.
Right.
You can't tell your kids being at midnight and come in at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
You can't tell your kids not to drink, come in drunk.
Yeah.
You can't tell your kids not to use bad language and swear.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We have to be the example, and then the standard by which, or the behavior that we expect our children, we state it, and then we hold them to it lovingly.
Yep.
Punishment can sometimes seem severe, but if it's done in love, if it's done with care, if it's done not to shame our children, but to train them, then it will be good for them.
The most effective punishment my dad did with me
mm-hmm.
was take something away.
Sure.
I was probably 10 years old. I got a BB gun for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Before New Year's, he took it from me. I'd shot the windows out of the barn. And some tops off some pop bottles.
Yeah.
You remember what pop bottles were?
Sure.
But he said, when you're old enough to know how to behave and handle it, you'll get it back.
You'll get it back.
And one night I was late coming home and he took the car keys away from me. And he said, 30 days, you won't drive the car.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, it'll be another 30. He said I'd walk with my back to the car through the garage.
Wouldn't even look at it.
But I responded well when he took things away.
Yeah. Mine was probably having things taken away, but for me, it was being grounded from something. So, and I wouldn't suggest that this is the way it should be done, but I loved to go to youth meetings when I was in junior high and high school. I loved to go to youth meetings. I mean, there were always cute girls there, and that was always fun. But I also just loved learning and being together with my friends. And so Mom and Dad knew I loved that, and they would say, well, because you did this, you can't go to youth meeting this week. Now, again, a lot of people will say, don't ground them from church. I agree. But youth meeting was something different. It was above and beyond church. Yeah, it was. They knew that was special. So it was real easy for them to say, you're going to have to miss youth meeting. We call it MYF, Methodist Youth Fellowship. You're going to have to miss MYF.
I was raised Methodist Youth Fellowship.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I started teaching my sophomore year.
Yeah.
And my brother taught the Methodist Youth Fellowship. He's 8 years younger than me and a pastor.
Uh-huh.
And they didn't come home. Well, the church is 2 blocks from the house.
Oh.
So we're sitting there at home, and Jim's not home yet, and it's about 9 o'clock. And like things started like at 6.
Yeah.
And Dad was getting hot. Dad said, I'm going down. And Dad went down and opened the door wide and walked in with his chin set. And Jim was playing the piano, and they were all singing Christian songs. Dad said, I about cried as I turned around and came home.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. Well, every child, whether you're the oldest child or the youngest child, thinks the other one has it better.
Yeah.
You know, the oldest one my brother had to take me to the movies when he went, sometimes with a girl.
Oh, yeah.
And he was 8 years older than me. That wasn't fun.
Take your little brother along.
And how I know that wasn't fun is Jim was 8 years younger than me. I had to do the same thing, you know. And then the baby thinks, you know, they got to do things and I don't get to do it. But you know what they say about the middle child? I'm the middle child.
What do they say?
Absolutely nothing.
You're a nobody.
Absolutely
You're
nothing.
invisible.
Yeah. Well, Marty, it's been good.
Yeah. It's
God
been
bless
good.
you. We'll hit this topic again.
Thank you, because it's an important topic. And we do want to support families and support parents and married couples. Strong families are vital for our nation. It's vital for Christianity and certainly vital for our church.
And sometimes when you're at that insurpassable place, don't be embarrassed.
Oh,
Don't be ashamed.
ask for help.
Call one of us. Let's
Yeah.
talk. Let's sit down and talk.
Yeah.
You know, come let us reason together because
Absolutely.
they can all be fixed.
Absolutely.
You know.
Even the worst problem can be surmounted, especially if you've got help.
Absolutely.